And now we're going to start to talk about the influx of time loops in narratives.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to NMI for a podcast exploring the worlds of movies, video games, and TV shows. I'm your host, Nathan, and today I'm joined by guest hosts, James and Fergus. It's been another week. So many good things have happened. So many times I've almost thrown up, but we'll get into that in a second. How have you guys been this week?
Yeah, I've been enjoying the delights of COVID over the last couple of weeks. Finally caught that. Apart from that, it's been great.
I presume like it's been mild for you, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been extremely mild. Yeah, I've got nothing to complain about at all. It was the mildest illness I've ever had. But I'll caution that's just my case. That's just my personal experience after all the vaccines.
I was gonna say, yeah, fuck you, because I had all the vaccines and I was in bed for almost 4 fucking days. I hate your goddamn immune system. How about yourself, Fergus?
I've just been sat here playing visual novels, Steins Gate to be accurate. We will get to that later in the show, I imagine.
Oh, so you've been sort of like doing some research before the podcast, then,
Yes, amongst other things.
amongst other things.
It's a long story.
I mean, fair enough, fair enough. We will not divulge into that further then. But yes, people, it has been another week. And, last week we dived into where certain game IPs could go to reinvent themselves, giving each other and all of you out there an insight to what we do with them. We had Chaz and his take on Fable, Fergus taking us into the land of Elder Scrolls and the city builder game he'd created. And honestly, Fergus, I did not see that one coming. That was actually quite good, to be honest. Yeah.
It'd be fun. It would be fun.
Yeah, and myself with the vampiric Castlevania, and what open world game I'd create with that. But before we dive into the topics and the news, I gotta tell you, right? I went to go watch Jackass last night. Jackass Forever. Jesus, to think that that IP is over 20 years old now, and I did almost throw up last night. The film was you could definitely tell with this film that they're older now, and the film definitely looks like it's passing the torch to like new people in the Jackass universe, essentially how you could put it. And some of the stunts they do is just hilarious, but also just one person gets hit in the balls so much in this film. Like, I'm hoping he got paid like for every ball shot he had, he just got paid extra money on top, because there must be mush by now. Jesus Christ, it was just painful as hell. Jesus, but yeah, no, and yeah, that was pretty much there. Also, I've attempted Dying Light. I've been playing a bit of Dying Light 2. I've also tried to start playing Sifu, which is fucking difficult. Like, people are blitzing through that game, and I'm like, I mean, James, you're thinking about getting it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. I've not even purchased it yet.
I mean, yeah, come on, the purchasing must be absolutely terrible. It's got to press the right control combinations to get that purchased. Definitely check it out next week, people, for a probably more of an in-depth discussion of Dying Light 2 and Sifu, the more I play of that. But yes, people, we are now going to get into the news of the week before our main topic. So, our first news item of the week. Tom Holland, Mr. Spider-Man himself, wants to make a Jack and Daxter movie and play Jack. I mean, interesting, to say the least. But the weird thing is, he says he wants to make it with A24, which are there's a quote saying, I would make it at A24, so it would be really weird and really dark. And it's like, and obviously A24 is known for Hereditary, Midsommar, I think they did The Green Knight as well recently with Dev Patel. And yeah, he would like to make a really weird live action version of Jack and Daxter. That would be kind of fucked up.
Excuse my ignorance, but what is Jack and Daxter? Is it a game? Old school game, is it?
Yes, yeah. So it was a game that came out on, I believe, the PlayStation 2, and then it was like released back in the early 2000s. Is it like a platformer, if I'm correct? I haven't fully played it myself. I just know of Jack and Daxter, and I was never really into those games. But it's interesting to he's hopping from Uncharted to this series that he'd like to do. It's not confirmed he's going to do it, but it's just something he'd like to do.
Seems to be up for a lot of game franchises then. Are they doing Luigi in the new Mario film?
I mean, yes,
Oh, okay, so that was already taken.
Charlie Day is playing Luigi,
Oh, of
is voicing
course.
Luigi. So that'll be interesting to say the least. And obviously, the whole. To be fair, a lot of people love the casting for that movie. Chris Pratt is the only casting decision, but I'm like, have you seen the Lego Movie?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like he isn't bad in that film, and also he's already said he's not going to do his typical like Chris Pratt voice. He's going to do like he's been working on the Mario voice, getting into that. Be interesting to see what he does with that. But yes,
Maybe we should do maybe we should do a future topic. What other video game films should Tom Holland be in?
I mean technically that could tie into next week's, but we'll get into that topic a little bit later. Next, people though. So today, just before this podcast, they showed the first footage. Well, first in-game engine footage, I believe it was for the Unreal Engine for The Wolf Among Us 2. Have you guys played The Wolf Among Us?
I have. I
I
like it.
have
It's good.
not. No.
Mate, get on it. It is so good. Like,
Yeah.
brilliant. It's basically based on the Fables graphic comic book series where it takes like fairy tale characters but puts them in the real world. So like it follows the one of the main characters, Bigsby, or the big bad wolf. He's like the sheriff of like this community, and there's like tons of different characters. But they in the trailer, I don't know if you mind me talk about the trailer that they just had.
I've already seen it.
Okay, yeah. So basically, in the trailer, people they it seems that Bigsby and Snow White are at odds now, which is pretty interesting. But also, they had like the Wizard of Oz characters, like the Tin Man and the Scarecrow looks like he's getting high and like smoking some shit, and like Dorothy, I don't know what the fuck's with Dorothy. She looks like she's going to be quite manipulative in it. Could be a complete. Basically, in that game, do not expect the expected. It goes in directions you should not where near expect. I said expect too many times there, but yeah. So I like the fact that they've come back and they've said like it's coming out in 2023. They're taking the time. They're working on it. It is going to be episodic again, and it just looked great. It was nice to see that. It's nice to see that also not changing the art style, but you could see that it is more fluid because the first one you could tell when you play it that it was running off it's like a specific engine and it moved a certain way in the animation. But this one you could definitely tell it's different engine. But I like the fact that the art style has remained essentially. So yeah, what did you think about the trailer, James?
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of the first game. I've quite enjoyed The Wolf Among Us original was the property that got me into Telltale's games. So I've been looking forward to Wolf Among Us for probably equally as long as you have, Nate. Second one. So I'm looking forward to that big time.
I mean, for me, The Wolf Among Us was my third title I played. I think it was Walking Dead Season 1, which I still think is amazing.
I never completed it.
Oh yeah,
I
it's so
started
good.
it, but I never completed it.
Highly recommend going back and playing it, dude. It's so good. I decreasingly play them afterwards. I might go back and replay them one day. Maybe we'll play them again and just do a retro review or something.
Mm.
The Batman. I love the Batman game.
I love the Batman games as well. Batman Telltale. Really interesting takes on the Batman characters.
Yeah, no, I definitely like. I'm hoping like because obviously we got the Batman coming out in just under a month now, which is going to be insane. Because I saw a new teaser for that today, and there's a shot in that trailer which just looked mesmerizing, in my opinion. Anyway, I know I won't speak up any more of that because James has only seen one trailer.
I'll keep myself as spoiler free as possible.
Oh
I'm
no,
so
this
looking forward
is
to that film.
this is a cinematic shot that I just saw. It doesn't really spoil
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
But yeah, no, and then yeah, just the I'm hoping that this film, like I've heard, it's going to be the most controversial Batman movie, which I'm actually really looking forward to, and I'm hoping like thinking about the Telltale Batman games, it actually takes upon that as well. So yeah, that's The Wolf Among Us, people. As I said, literally came out just before this podcast, and I thought it looked brilliant. It was a nice like 15-20 minute video. Talked to the devs and the voice actors, which was really cool with Jeff Keighley. The next one is Rings of Power. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is releasing their first teaser trailer at the Super Bowl this weekend, I believe. Or next week. Basically, I don't know what the hell they're going to show because
Going straight in with your first trailer as a Super Bowl trailer is that is a baller move.
baller indeed, baller. Fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah, so obviously they really. I don't know if you guys saw the teaser posters that they released. So basically, I think like I did look at one of those posters and I did think, oh, that's Sauron. But then I rethought and I was like, oh no, that's not Sauron. That's the King of Numenor. It is Numenor, right? The Ring Wraith, the Witch King, Agnar. My Lord of the Rings knowledge is not up to scratch compared to my Star Wars and my Marvel and DC knowledge. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out, because the fact it is the second age, it's just going to be insane in my opinion. And I'm wondering if they'll literally curtail it to the end of the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, just as the Fellowship of the Ring starts. I'm wondering how that's how the show will end, and they'll reshoot some of the shots from that and then just merge it, essentially create this one epic narrative, which would be pretty interesting.
It's just good that they're covering new territory in the Lord of the Rings world. It would be a shame if they were basically remade the original 3 films essentially as a TV series. If they try and knit it into the already existing films, that would be great.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And our final topic for the evening, which we can't really cover much because it comes out after we're recording this, just after recording this episode. But Nintendo are doing their first Nintendo Direct of 2022 with over 40 minutes of footage from the first half of 2022. I want to say it's not the second half. So, but I bet at the end that they're gonna do a Breath of the Wild 2 teaser,
I would
because
imagine so, yeah.
yeah, I'm wondering what games they're going to announce. I wonder if there'll be some games that they're just going to drop. I know there was a rumor. There was a rumor that they're going to be releasing the Arkham series on the Switch, which would be pretty interesting.
We're talking like the original Arkham
Trilogy,
games.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see. To be honest, I wonder if they'll do Arkham Origins as well. Maybe not just the trilogy, but the 4 games.
I loved Arkham Origins.
I did like Arkham Origins.
It might be something controversial, but that is my favourite of the Arkham games. Because
Wow.
I thought the story was the best in Arkham Origins.
So I did, but I think at a point they kind of it felt like they had to go back to certain characters, which did kind of annoy me a little bit, because
Yeah.
I liked how they were interpreting some of the villains. I thought it was really cool. I
Mm.
thought the Deathstroke element and the whole hunting element was brilliant.
Yeah.
But I think also I love the fact that, I think we can talk about spoilers, right? That game is old enough now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the statue for that game, they had a hidden compartment, which a lot
Oh,
of people didn't realize till after the game came out, which actually spoiled the game. So
oh,
the black mask, obviously, spoilers, people, spoilers for the Arkham Origins game. Come back in like 20, 30 seconds. Basic spoilers now. So Black Mask is the Joker.
Dun,
That's
dun,
the Joker.
dun.
Yeah, exactly. And in the statue, there's a head replacement of the Joker and Black Mask, which I thought was hilarious.
that's really clever. Cool.
Yeah. So spoilers end. Spoilers end, people. You can come back now. You know, they'll probably come back in. So no more spoilers, people. But yeah, that did kind of frustrate me a little bit, because I was kind of hoping that the character or whatever, the Joker, would be a teaser at the end. I won't talk about the other stuff because that is the spoiler. So yeah. Anyway, there's rumors that that's going to happen, so that'd be pretty interesting, to be honest. I'm hoping that is the case. I'm wondering what other series. I'm wondering if they might announce like a new. So they remastered Skyward Sword, or they remade Skyward Sword. I wonder if they'll announce like maybe like Ocarina of Time. Like, I wonder if that will be announced possibly. But we will see at 10 p.m. I will definitely be tucking into my pizza after this, and definitely enjoying that indeed. So, people, that is it. We have done the news. But we are now going to go into our main topic of the week. And so we are going to take it over. We're going to give it over to James now. And James is actually going to be leading this podcast now. And I'm going to take a back seat and let him become the main host for the show. James, take over those main host responsibilities. Take it away, James.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the recent influx of time loops in narratives. So I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but especially over the last couple of years, there's been a ton of games featuring a time loop narrative. And there's even been a few films as well. And there's a part of me which feels like it's a bit of a reflection with the pandemic which we've been in for the last couple of years, even if it's not an intentional thing. The time that we are doing a lot of these time loop narratives being written during this period of deja vu, that it is still very reflective of that period in time, and I just find it very interesting.
Yeah, the past 2 years has definitely changed people's relationship with time. I know it has for me, like losing entire months at a time. Suddenly it's not winter anymore. I haven't been outside for 3 months. I don't know what's going on. Like I can understand why people have got a fascination with this subject, because say you you need quite a lot of like landmarks in like your day or your week or whatever for you to actually understand the passage of time. I feel anyway. Like if you're in the same room all day every day and it's dark, you have no idea what time it is, what day it is, what year it is. So yeah, it would make sense that time loop narratives have been of interest to people making and consuming. Probably expect a lot more time loops to come because people have been writing their novel or screenplay during lockdown.
I mean, the Peacekeeper TV show came out because of lockdown. Like James Gunn finished. I think he was editing Suicide Squad, and he just wrote the Peacekeeper TV show, and he was like to HBO or to Warner Brothers, do you want to do this? And they were like, sure. So now we're almost like coming to the final episode of the America is coming to the final episode of the Peacemaker TV show. Hopefully, we'll be able to see it eventually over here. But yeah, no. But yeah.
Yeah, it might also be in terms of production for TV shows and stuff. The fact we can't travel at the moment somewhat limits milder budget shows, right? So if your narrative is one small village and you literally go over the same period of time, you don't have to do, oh, and suddenly they were in New York.
I mean, yes and no to a degree, because I think maybe like before certain technologies we've got now, so the volume I'm thinking of mainly because, well, Ewan McGregor came out and said like when he filmed the prequels, it was just all blue and green and he was just acting against that, but now he's using the volume technology, which obviously using the Mandalorian and other stuff that's come out since then. And I think that's definitely probably helped filming in the world today. And I definitely think like with the pandemic and how it's gone, we're definitely getting a lot more content now. But we're gonna start seeing a lot more content come out, and that's probably why we're seeing like, all these games and TV shows and films coming out so quickly. Because like I said, our reviews for some of the games coming out are gonna be insane. Like I've got my wallet is gonna be crying this month. Like I bought Sifu, I've bought Dying Light 2. Horizon Forbidden West comes out in a week and a half. We've got Jackass the film. We've got the Batman. We've got so much stuff coming out, and I think we're coming out of the time loop essentially of like just as you said, the repeated days of just not doing a lot and just doing the same thing day in and day out. And I think it'll be interesting to come back in like maybe 10 years and see where like look back at all this stuff that's come out, all these games that have come out, and think like a 10 years time when maybe we're not in this anymore, hopefully God by then, that how our lives were at that point. It'd be really interesting to see, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think people would believe us if we told them.
Back in my day,
I watched 700 hours of Netflix.
God, I do not want to see the statistics on certain shows I watched.
But yeah, what we're going to do now is to have a discussion on our favourite time loops in media. 'Cause there's just such a lot of them to go through. So I think what I'm going to do actually, just for interest's sake, is just to talk about when the time loop narrative actually began, and that was in 1965 with a Japanese science fiction novel entitled "The Girl Who Leapt Through Time." There was quite a long gap between kind of like time loops, but obviously the Groundhog Day was the next one, which it wasn't the next one which used time loop narrative, but it was the next one which I feel really brought that narrative device to the modern. Well, we know most people associate time loop device probably with Groundhog Day these days. I'd imagine. Well, potentially people of our age, anyways. Maybe it's a bit old now for some of the younger generation. But it's definitely post 2000s. There's been a massive influx, and even for the last 5 years or so, 5-10 years, it's been a big increase in the time loop narrative. So stuff I want to talk about. Feel free to talk about your stuff as well. But stuff I wouldn't mind talking about is kind of like recent games and films which we've had in the last like 2 or 3 years. So I'm going to go with the films. I'm sure we've got a lot of games. So I'm going to start with, you know what? I'm going to start with a film which is also kind of a game in terms of its time loop narrative. It's designed to play out like a game, and it's a film called Boss Level.
I have heard about this.
It's Frank Grillo.
Yes, and Mel Gibson. Yeah, I've seen advertised, and and it's on my list. And people
Yeah.
have been telling me to watch
I
this
think,
movie.
I generally enjoyed it. I mean, it's obviously in a way it's one of those bit of dumb fun kind of like action films, but actually I think it goes into quite an interesting, unexpected direction at a certain point in the film, which I will not spoil.
Just say I have not seen this film and have absolutely no idea what happens in it.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but no, it's good. It definitely plays with the tropes of a computer game, especially at the start, because it's basically. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's called boss level. That's a pretty gamey title in the first place.
Hmm.
So I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of a time loop narrative and films. How about you guys? Are there any films or TV before I loop back to any of my other suggestions?
I will just say that the anime film for The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is very much 10 out of 10 must watch. It's been a very long time since I've seen it, so don't remember a huge amount about it, but it is up there with other like great anime films. So go watch that for sure.
Which one was that again?
The Girl Who Leapt Through Time,
Oh, okay,
the
right. An
the
anime
OG,
version of the
yeah, I think it was
original science fiction film.
2010-ish. There was a movie, I think.
2006. I've
Nice.
actually just
Okay.
Googled it myself.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so it is classed as a loose sequel.
Mm.
How about you, Nathan? Have been any interesting time loops?
I mean, if we're going like into our favorite time loops, I mean, the biggest one for me, which we have a Discord group where we like to get our notes and everything ready, and James has lovingly provided us a list of films and games that have this. But there's one film there film series, might I say, that isn't there, which could be classed as a time loop in itself, and that's the Terminator franchise.
As a franchise, yeah, I didn't think about that. Well, rather than a time loop being in each individual.
Well, the first film.
I'll be honest, I've only seen the second.
Wow. Okay. I mean, like, what? Oh my God, James! You've only seen the
Yep.
second movie. I mean, Fergus has no
I
doubt
have seen
the
all of
first
them, I
film.
think, now. Yes, there is a lot of time travel in that franchise.
Yeah, I'm afraid my interest in that franchise terminated with the second film, which I enjoyed, and I just wanted to make that pun.
I mean, like, to be honest with you, the first definitely watch the first Terminator
Some
film.
people would argue that the second Terminator film is the greatest love story ever told.
I'm trying to think.
I
How
don't know.
again?
I don't know. It's something I picked up along the way.
I mean, so I will say, well, to be fair, I mean, that film, obviously, visual effects spectacle. But for me, I actually do love the first Terminator movie because the first one is a horror. It's a thriller. Like, it's basically these two people getting hunted by a machine, but you don't know it's a machine. Well, it's like a cybernetic, organ creature, whatever. It's described like that, but you don't fully know it is that until near the end, pretty much, or like, and it gets quite grotesque at some points, and it's quite fucking violent compared to the second one. It's a lot more. I feel it's a lot more violent than the first one than the second one. And I don't know if you care about spoilers, James.
Spoilers, people.
No, so basically, spoilers for a film that came out like 1984. I want to say 1987. So the first Terminator film obviously stars Linda Hamilton, Michael Biehn, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Michael Biehn playing Carl Reese, and Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, obviously the father of John Connor. So my love of that film is the fact that throughout the entire film, it flashes to the future of the events that after Judgment Day, and Skynet is winning, but now humanity has fought back, and they're going to send someone back. And now that Kyle is eventually going to be the dad of like John Connor, pretty much. You pretty much know this the entire time. It is a love story as well, because in the future, Kyle has this photograph of Sarah Connor that was taken when she was younger, and he's in love with this picture, which is a little bit weird. And then it goes through this entire film, and then at the end of the film, they do the deed before obviously he dies at the end in this really awesome sequence. Not him dying is the sequence, but the Terminator dying is the best part. Anyway, at the end of the film, she's in Mexico, she's driving near Mexico. She's driving in like the areas of America near the border, and this little kid takes a picture on a Polaroid and gives her the picture and asks for a bit of cash, and she pays for it. And when you see the picture, it's the same picture that he was carrying in the future. So it's literally a closed loop essentially. Like, that film could have been a closed loop in itself. You would have never had to see Terminator 2.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did, but I do love the fact that came out, and I do love the fact that that was a time loop in itself. And I do like how the other films went. Like, I did like Salvation, like Terminator Salvation. Don't get me wrong, it's not amazing, but the thing I like about that film is it tried to be different. They had like eel Terminators and motorcycle Terminators and big fucking kaiju Terminators, and just I liked the fact that that film had like this different take of cyborgs. But yeah, Terminator for me, I think that franchise has so much life left in it, but it needs a new direction in my opinion. I've always had this dream of like kind of like directing a Terminator film, but you do not know it's a Terminator film until the end of the movie. So it's like the first film where these people have been hunted, and then you think it's like it's mass murder, like a Michael Myers situation or Jason or whatever. But you only find out at the end of the movie that it's actually a Terminator the entire time, because it's just because obviously Michael Myers and everyone, they're these unkillable machines. But what if it turns out it's actually a machine, people? So yeah, that's my film. That's my go-to time
Nice.
loop film.
Yeah, and I think we'll move on to games because that's also been a massive influx of those in recent years. We've got Outer Wilds, Deathloop, 12 Minutes, Sifu, Returnal, My COVID, that's coming back apparently. So yeah, I mean obviously we talked about this in the first podcast, but Deathloop I thought was fantastic in terms of time loops. I thought it was very inventive. Again, may not already know what this is, but it's a game where you play as an assassin, and another player can also jump into your games as another assassin trying to hunt you down. And that's a cycle which plays through every day, but it also plays as a bit of a detective kind of game where you are slowly piecing together day by day bits about the world in order to work out how to complete your objective, which is to assassinate 7 people in a single day, trying to get them into like orchestrate scenarios where you can work out where they are at a particular point in particular days, and a bit of a puzzle to work out how to do it. And it's really, really good. It's a really inventive way of doing the time loop, I felt, in terms of the game. So yeah, that's my suggestion for video game time loops. How about you, Fergus?
Bring it all the way back to Majora's Mask, I think, with video game time loops. I never managed to break the time loop myself in that game. I found it very frustrating, but has definitely stuck with me as an experience. I'm sure it has a lot of people.
I mean, for me, I think you are right, James. Like, Deathloop is a brilliant game. I thought it was amazing. I was a bit disappointed by the
I
ending,
agree
if
with
I'm
that as well.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like they could have like it felt like that game. It wanted you to continue playing it, which sometimes it's good to just have a game that just finishes. You don't have
Yeah, I
to
felt like there was
continue.
so many hints to the outer. Well, not really spoilers, but I felt there was a lot of hints in the game to like some kind of like apocalypse or some kind of bad events, kind of like outside of which kind of necessitated them being in a time loop. I was expecting that to be a big kind of like the extent of that to be like the reveal, to find out exactly what was going on with the outside world, and it just doesn't do that. It doesn't explain anything, and that disappointed me.
I would have kind of liked like an early style M Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
I thought that would be really fun at the end. But I think like for the main game itself, when it comes to that, I thought the game was amazing for the fact that the audio in that game, like just the voiceovers, like the voice acting was superb. Like we discussed it in a previous podcast. You very rarely ever hear the same dialogue twice. Very rarely, and just the fact that you have to during these time loops, these day loops, and also you could figure out the time of day to come back in, just to figure out to kill people. I just thought was brilliant, and yeah, I just thought it was a great game. For video games, though, James, would you count roguelikes as time loop games to a
I
degree?
mean, no, they use similar mechanic, and I think that's probably why I think roguelites show why the time loop works really well in a game environment as a narrative device. But I wouldn't necessarily call I wouldn't say roguelike is necessarily a time loop. I mean, for instance, Hades is probably the best roguelike that I've played, but I wouldn't call it a time loop because there is still a forward momentum in terms of in terms of time. You're not going back in time; you're still going forwards in time, but you're just playing the same levels again.
So the thing is, though, right? Like games like Sifu that's recently come out, because obviously in that game it is a roguelike game that you die if you eventually get too old, you die, you have to restart again. Or you can just die and start again and start at age 20. But basically, each time you die, you gain age. So it is you gain time. You're losing time, and you can reset that by going back, and you lose most of your points. So it is roguelike in that sense. But
Yeah, that particular game, from your description, does sound time loopy because you're going back in. You're going back in time. But if you're stuff like Hades, for instance, wouldn't be because you've got forward momentum in the story. You're not going back in time per se. So, but yeah, I'd say Sifu's time
yeah, I
loop.
mean, like one game I need to play is the Forgotten City. So if I remember, if I read it correctly, it was originally like a Skyrim mod. I might have to. I'm going to mute myself. If you want to continue, James, I'm just going to search this quickly.
Okay, cool. So the other game that I'm going to pop up for a fantastic time loop game in recent years, probably about 3 years old now, I think, is Outer Wilds. So I never completed the Outer Wilds. I still haven't completed that, but I did play quite a lot of it. But again, another very inventive use of a time loop, and another one where they're using time loop narrative alongside investigation and kind of like kind of detective. As you're trying to each time with each time loop, you learn more about the world and you learn more about. So Outer Worlds takes place in space essentially. You're this space kind of like alien civilization whose planet is or the solar system is dying. You're trying to work out why and trying to stop it essentially. And there's just a lot of you investigate all kind of planets throughout the solar system, and you're trying to find clues. And with each time loop, you'll find more and more clues until you piece basically this puzzle together. So I think that's a really inventive way. Another really inventive way of doing time loop. It's very interesting to see. Then again, another time loop game which is using the kind of like this detective or investigative kind of like mechanic alongside the time loop.
Yeah, no. I did just check it up. The Forgotten City, which I do really want to play, was originally modded from Skyrim, but then it eventually became its own title, essentially. And it's the fact that you have to the premise that it explores the existential relationship between humanity and its laws. It begins with a protagonist waking up, rescued, floated down the Tiber River in Italy, and basically he's falling into this like realm supposedly. This is why I've been told by other people, and they've like sort of like frozen in time in the Roman era. And basically, if anyone commits a sin, they all turn to gold, and the day resets essentially. So that's what I've been told. So it might be different, but the idea, and then you have to figure out who performed the sin essentially during this time to break it. And I find it's really cool, to be honest, and it's something I definitely want to try. And it's actually on Switch now, so I actually might buy it for Switch at some point.
It does look interesting. I think I saw a few trailers when it was first in production. Very intriguing, for sure. I haven't got around to playing it yet, but it is on the list of things to do for sure.
I think get other game wise like Returnal, because I've been one of those lucky people to get the PS5, which is awesome. I thought I got to the end of that game. Like I was like, oh thank fuck, I finally done it. Jesus goddamn Christ! It turns out I was halfway through, and I was like, what the fuck? Luckily, it does start you off from the midpoint then, so you don't die and go back to the beginning. But I thought that game was brilliant. I thought the mechanics was awesome. It's stupidly fast paced, and it has like the levels move around. So every time you go into the level, it's not the same as the previous version. So you do have to adapt to which version's coming in. So you have to try and memorize the sections as they like connect to each other, which I thought was pretty fun. So yeah, I definitely think Returnal's pretty awesome.
I think Fergus, you were talking about quite an interesting time loop game to me earlier. Was it Steins Gate?
Yes, as I mentioned in the introduction, I've been playing the Steins Gate visual novel this week, which is launched in 2009. It's anime type story about essentially time travel. I think there are time loops involved, but it's more generally about time travel than having like time loop mechanics. Um, at this point, there's probably going to be spoilers, so but I'm only halfway through chapter 2 at the moment. But essentially, what's happened so far is there is this student is attending like lectures on time travel in a world where time travel hasn't been invented. No one knows what time travel is, and he accidentally time travels to a different timeline where people are all basically the same, still have no idea what time travel is, have the same relationship with him and stuff, but everything's slightly different. So he's got slightly different memories to everyone else, and he's, you know, they're thinking he's nuts, but he's actually traveled in time. Like it's very interesting. It's definitely building up for something a lot more, everyone's secretly a time traveler or something of that magnitude. But I would recommend it. There's an anime as well, which is probably less of a time sink, to be honest. But it is good. It is good for sure. I would recommend it.
Oh, awesome. So that was our discussion on time loops and narratives. So for today, we're going to be talking about the influx of time loops in narratives.
Haha. I've got a few other things to bring up. They're not strictly time loops, but if we're going, so return by death is a mechanic that often crops up in sort of manga anime. So instead of replaying the same 24 hours, if and when you die, you return to the same date at the same age you were, in the same state you were on that date. Most notably, currently still airing ReZero, which I'm sure a lot of you will have seen at least part of. But the general concept with ReZero is a guy gets isekai'd, basically dies and is reborn in a sort of Dungeons and Dragons type world. But when he dies, which is quite a lot, he'll return to when he first woke up in the world. I mean, there are additional save points throughout the series, so he'll wake up at different places, but he'll have to, for like 3 episodes at a time, he'll have to go over the same territory again and again, and basically work out how not to die and save everyone, which is very interesting. Again, another major spoiler probably, but this is quite an old series, so if you know about it, you'll know. But so another show that is worth watching, and that is sort of a bit return by death time loop, is Higurashi When They Cry. So set in a small Japanese town in the mid 80s, who follow this group of kids in the build up to like the town's sort of festival. But anytime they die, you get reset, and it's a mystery show, so it's up to you to work out what's actually going on here. But it is quite something. It is very much horror and psychological horror, so also warning on that front. But it's well worth your time for sure.
Is there any other are there any other time loops which anybody wants to discuss?
I mean, you did write in your list, James, but I thought the Edge of
Yeah.
Tomorrow movie was really good, or Live, Die, Repeat,
I
or
call it
whatever you
Edge
want
of
to call
Tomorrow.
it. Like,
I think people have said that they don't like that title, which is crazy. I think the Edge of Tomorrow is a great title. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but I really like the title.
no, I definitely agree, and there is like the whole thing of like they are doing the sequel, but it is like a prequel at the same time. So they said that sequel prequel, which is going to be interesting, and it'll be nice to see where they go with that because I loved the visual aesthetic of the movie. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was based on a manga, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, I believe it was based on Japanese manga. Yeah. Breaking news just come in though. If we dive out, so I
Yeah.
think we finished the time loop narrative now. But breaking news that's just come out. I've just seen on one of the old Discord groups I'm on. So it seems that Futurama is coming
No.
back.
I mean, I love Futurama, and I've just pretty much rewatched it last year. But the final episode they did for Futurama, I thought was the most fantastic way to end the show. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't necessarily be for that, unless you're saying it's as a feature film.
So, the series, which aired its first 5 seasons on Fox, will come back on Hulu. Production started this month for a 2023 release. It stars Billy West as Fry again, Kate Siegel as Leela. But it seems that John DiMaggio is the only one not confirmed as not returning. He's finalizing a deal, but it's not been confirmed yet. But it seems like most of the original voice cast
And that's
is
for a
coming back
TV
for it.
series. I mean, I'll definitely want
Yes.
to watch it because Futurama's great, but they ended it. I just felt they ended it so well, which is why I like stuff to. If they've ended the show really well, I like stuff. You leave it. If you end the show well, you leave it. Although Futurama did have so many different endings because it went to so many different networks over its time, but really love the ending which they had.
Oh my fucking god! So I'm just reading through my stuff now. So do you remember, people, how we discussed earlier that the news of Tom Holland would love to make a Jack and Daxter movie? The director for the upcoming Uncharted film has come out and revealed that I am actually working on a Jack and Daxter, a version of that for PlayStation, which I think would be really cool to bring to life. Ruben Fleischer is actually looking at that now, and I'm like, really?
Well, that sounds
Okay,
coordinated.
this is going to be. Yeah, that is weird to say the least, to be honest. But yeah, no, that is going to be very interesting indeed. But I guess that is it, people. It is a shorter episode this week. It seems we've ended our time loop and we are coming to the end of the show now. That was a terrible segue, but I
Watch
don't
the show
care.
again in the spirit of time loops.
Yes, keep rewatching the show. Get those numbers up, and yeah. But yes, people. So next week we are actually going to be diving into the Uncharted movie. Some of us will be going to see that next week before the show. So we will be getting a nice movie review of that, and maybe a bonus episode of that actually. So we actually have like nice 20-minute, 30-minute discussion on that film, because I think that film definitely needs it, because it's had a troubled development cycle. It's gone through so many iterations and so many directors. And it would be nice to get a perspective from people who've played all of the games, played some of the games, and played none of the games, to see how they go from there. I'd be really interested to see how that goes. But to tie into that, next week's episode, we will be delving into dream video game adaptations for movies or TV series and what we'd like to see. I've definitely got a couple in mind, so it'll be really interesting there. But yes, people, and we will have the Uncharted movie review, but we'll also have a slightly more in-depth discussion of Dying Light 2 and Sifu. I don't know if I'll be the only one playing that still. I don't know if James will be playing that possibly, but if not, no, it'll just be me next week, people. So hopefully I'll be able to get past the first boss. Well, past the second boss. I have defeated the first boss, but I did die 7-8 times. So I aged from 20 to my 60s in the first boss, which was ridiculous. And I did start playing that at like 10 o'clock at night, though, so that was probably the worst decision. But yes, people, thank you so much for joining us this week in an interesting topic, to be honest. It's definitely something different to what we've usually done. And we're definitely going to be getting into that as we're going through. You know, we're going to be trying to do more different IPs as we go through. Not IP, sorry. We're going to try and do more different, topics, more theories, and try and get more conversational topics going. And maybe you out there might be able to want to get involved in that also by sending that in. And by doing that, you can contact us by going to nmipodcast@outlook.com. So for any questions or queries, or topics or suggestions, please contact us at nmipodcast@outlook.com, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at nmicast. Now, as you've seen, we've actually got on our YouTube channel now, NMI When You Need More Info. That's NMI When You Need More Info. So subscribe to us there. We're starting to actually get our animated versions together in there. So you start seeing our lovely animated selves pop up there, and each week the seats will change, people. The seats will change, and eventually those pixel versions of us will be talking. They will be talking. So it'll be absolutely amazing to have. But yes, it's been lovely to see you all today, people. I hope you have a lovely week and a lovely weekend, and I hope you all stay safe out there. I have been your host, Nate. Thank you to my guest host today, James and Fergus. Hope you've had a lovely time today. Have a lovely day, people, and I will speak to you soon. Stay safe, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And now we're going to start to talk about the influx of time loops and narratives.